Welcome, everyone. We got Steve here for today's case study, and I'll ask him a few questions about his journey with the Kinetic method, where he was before and where he is today and this afternoon. So, Steve, welcome. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Good. So before we dive in, about your story and what you've achieved so far, can you give everyone that's listening and watching some context about your age, your weight, maybe where it was before, where it is now, your work schedule, that people see and understand also the lifestyle. It's not just 9 to 5, Steve is sitting at home, he's retired, has nothing to do, and then we go from there.
Okay, I'm 50 years old, turned 50 in March. Prior to that, I'm embarrassed to say I was 246.6 pounds, kind of at my heaviest. Used to run a lot of marathons, but trying to get in all that time to run became problematic. Did about 9 marathons, in fact, over several years. And ran those fairly okay, under 4 hours usually, so it wasn't bad timing. As far as work goes, I own an insurance agency that seems to take a lot of my time. Aside from that, we have 9 rental properties in 3 different states, which are all single family homes, so those as well take a fair amount of time. 4 kids, married, all that stuff seems to take a lot of time, and so there's not much time in a day after you take care of all those things. And so, my concern, as it was with running, was how much time was this program going to take?
Okay. And would you say it, with the time comment that you gave here, would you say that met your expectation, or was it over, under?
Well, it's interesting because I think you realize you have to prioritize certain things. So at some point you have to decide, my health is going to be more important than picking up the next piece of business, or you're going to have to figure out how to do both. And so I think I don't even know how to explain it other than to say that as you become in better shape, it seems like you learn to become more efficient with your time, maybe a good way to say that. The steps, admittedly, when I heard I was going to have to do 10,000 steps, I thought that was going to be a lot, but I was able to, look at that in more of a creative way. I didn't want to put a treadmill under my desk. I know there's other guys who have done that. And I looked at that as a way to be able to have some good one-on-one time with my wife. And so every morning now, after we drop our youngest daughter off at school, we go out and we usually get in at least 10,000 steps at that point, with the hopes of being able to get in the remaining steps throughout the day to get to either 12 or 15,000, depending on what my goal is for that day. So there's that, and the workout takes some time, but again, the workout doesn't, once you figure out how to do the workout, I don't find that it's overly time consuming. I do it at home. So the idea of having to go all the way to a gym and do the workout there and then come home and get showered and get ready. I do all mine at home. So I don't think it takes that much time generally.
Good. And time is always something like, it's often not time, it's the priorities. When we really think about it, it's like you and I have both have the same time. So it's something has to go. That's obvious. If you want to achieve something, sometimes you can do things simultaneously with the desk treadmill. That's the beauty about it. You could watch a movie and walk part of
Sure.
that movie, maybe in the beginning and the end where it gets like really fun, you can sit down, or you can work. And or maybe if you're watching this interview, you could be walking instead of sitting. That's already a small change. So there's definitely a trade-off for some things, and you seem to have made that very well with shifting your priorities to what you want. So given that context, why or let me add, actually, I always believe, like, with time and the priorities, it's something we align our values with and our focus to those priorities, and ultimately that will get us closer or further away to what we want. And so in your case, it got you closer with losing the weight, keeping it off, having more energy, whatever it was that got you initially started. What would you say has been your main motivator, maybe a moment in your life earlier this year that had you consider, hey, it's time to make a change, enough is enough, let me draw a line and get this fixed and sort out once and for all?
Yeah, so I would say earlier, actually in 2021, we were in Oklahoma, which is one of the states where we have some properties, and I randomly had an Afib episode where all of a sudden your heart just starts beating out of sync, and so it feels very off and very wrong. Had to go to the emergency room that night. They essentially used the equivalent of the shock paddles. They put me out, used the shock paddles, and got my heart back into the right rhythm. And that kind of just seemed like a one-off. But I came back and went and saw a cardiologist, and he said, well, you need to lose weight, and you need to, give me a mountain of things to do. And of course, I kind of put those to the side because, well, I wasn't having any more Afib episodes. And then in the early part of this year, in February, I believe, I got COVID, which seemed to also be a very bad trigger for Afib. And I was having episodes almost on a daily basis. And it seemed like no matter what the medication was that was being provided, that it just wasn't keeping it under control. And this is very disruptive for the sleeping. Once you've had these episodes, you feel like completely exhausted because your heart's, your heart's beating at 150 beats per minute, and you're not running, you're just sitting there and it's doing that. And so you really feel exhausted even once they get your heart back into the correct rhythm. And so, one of the things obviously the cardiologist said is, well, you really need to lose a lot of weight, and that would help too. And so that was the point where I guess I said enough was enough. And even though you pushed back a little, Mauro, and didn't want to take me on, I'm a pretty determined guy. And so, Mauro said, well, you have to kind of get your sign off from your doctor to be able to do it, which that was going to happen no matter what. And so I got that sign off, and Mauro and I started down this road, and I know he had some worries initially, but I wasn't really overly worried. We were going to do this. So
Wonderful. I'm so glad we're doing this and we decided to move forward. And normally, I don't need a test, but it as we had the chat, that I just want to make sure that, hey, if you like, I can take your money and just say, okay, Steve, I'll help you with the diet and walk a little bit. But if there's no exercise component, it's not going to be the transformation that we want. It's just going to be, yeah, you like so many people do. They go on a keto diet or fasting. I'm sure you know friends who do that, and walk a little bit, and that's it. Maybe run. But if you don't lift the weight and you lose muscle mass and you don't look apart, you don't look strong and lean, it's just a skinnier version of yourself. And then I thought it's just not worth that you invest into this. Not that I think it's not worth it, but without the lifting component, then I'm glad you were able to lift and push hard. We talked today about failure, so yeah, you've turned things around. And tell us a little bit more about the Afib episodes. I know when you started, it was really high.
Yeah, they
were. Now it's different, right?
Yeah, those were happening daily. And the thing that was horrible about it is, for whatever reason, it would usually happen in the middle of the night. And so, the doctor had me do a sleep study, and, because a lot of these things can be triggered while you're sleeping, because your breathing kind of gets off and it puts your heart into worry, and then it puts it out of rhythm. but yeah, there was a point where this was happening every day, and it's just a very, you feel you have no energy. It's just really bad. And so to kind of, and not to get into all the details of why you need to be on all these medications, but they put you on a blood thinner, which to keep you from having a stroke. Then they put you on a rate drug, and then they put you on a rhythm drug. And so I believe when I signed up, I was on all three of those things. And I think I let Morrow know that, hey, one of my goals is to get off of all of these things. And little by little, obviously with Morrow's help, but also in going and seeing an electrophysiologist, we were able to get to the point that I no longer had to be on the blood thinner, no longer had to be on the rate drug, no longer had to be on the rhythm drug. So basically, as far as those go, I'm 100% drug free. I haven't had a Afib episode in, it's been months now. I can't even remember, which is fantastic. I can't even remember the last time I had it. And don't get me wrong, I can still occasionally feel a flutter of the heart, which is like what you would normally have felt on the onset of one of those, but it never goes beyond that. And I think a lot of that has to do with, being at this point, I'm about 54 pounds lighter than I was when I started. And I think a lot of that has to do with just not, if nothing else, not carrying that extra weight around, not having that extra weight around the heart area, it being able to kind of do what it's supposed to do. But yeah, if I didn't get anything else out of this, the fact that got basically, I can't say cured because you never lose AFib, but I don't have any more episodes, and I don't foresee having more episodes as long as I continue to stay in shape and take better care of myself.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think, as you said, part of it, without wanting, yeah, I don't want to take the credit here for everything, or just for the weight loss. Definitely the medication needs to be proper, but yeah, you getting healthier has played a big role, and just shows that many, if we call it disease or health complications, can be improved when we take charge of our health the right way, like you did it, and lose weight, walk, lift weights, but not too much, just in the right amount, get enough recovery, and your body is probably functioning better than what would you say, last 5-10 years?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think that's a good point, Mauro, is it really ends up being a collective effort, right? So it's obviously you to provide the guidance, and hey, this is what the diet needs to look like, this is what the steps need to look like, this is what the workout needs to look like, this is what the sleep needs to look like rather. But also, the electrophysiologist, saying, okay, this is the point at which you can come off of these things as well too. So it wasn't like, okay, well, when we started, Steve, just get off the medication and see how it goes. That would have been a complete and total disaster. It was, okay, well, as the weight was coming off, I was able to taper down on most of these medicines based on, results that we were seeing with the weight loss, and just based on what we were seeing with the heart. And it was, the electrophysiologist that said, yeah, you can start tapering some of these, but that would have never happened if I wouldn't have just taken the step and decided to move forward with the program and started to get control of my life. And really, the diet, the nutrition, I mean, we didn't even touch on that at the beginning, which we probably should have. It's, you're eating out all the time, and it's just junk food, and having 3-4 Oreos in a day, and I mean, just stuff you should never be eating in any large quantities. But it becomes hey, this is what's here, so I'm going to eat it. So.
No, it's great. You made phenomenal changes. You're super consistent, and I just feel you haven't even started with the real peak of your transformation. So, or at least you're just getting started now, as we see more and more definition.
Yeah.
When you look back to where you started and where you are today, what would you say are some of the biggest results you achieved so far? You talked about the weight loss, but maybe energy, sleep, how you feel, anything you would add there?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of areas. I mean, obviously you can see it, on the scale, which, that's great. You can see it in the body, and the transformation, the photos that we get to take weekly, show, I love that part, to be able to go all the way back to the very beginning, to look into where I am now and going, man, look how, unfortunately, look how bad what used to be, and look how great it is now. You see that in the muscle definition that you start to see. I certainly have a lot more energy than I think I've ever had in a long time. I think I'm sleeping. I don't think, I have the ring that tracks that, and my sleep has been better than it's been. And I think a lot of the program just helps you develop better habits that you would have otherwise. In other words, making eating right a priority, making sleeping a priority, because as a business owner and entrepreneur, sometimes we don't prioritize sleeping the way it should be. And, that's one of the most important components of all this, is making sure you're getting adequate sleep so your body can recover, and all those muscles can, I guess, feel the recovery they need to feel to do well.
Oh, I see. I muted myself. There was some noise here. I say good. That's good. And also the parts that we don't see, like the non-scale victories, I believe are also very important with, as you said, with the recovery part that you added to that.
Yeah.
Would you say you would have figured it out all on your own?
Can't no, and no. Like I said, I did a lot of running before, and if you said, Steve, lose weight, I probably could have figured that out on my own. But I know who I am, and I know that I do far better with accountability. And I don't have to be beat over the head with accountability. A lot of it just, someone to say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'll generally do it. But if there's zero accountability, it can be very tough. So I think the accountability for me was a big component of it. Figuring out the diet. Yeah, Mauro, now that I'm thinking about it, I think, I don't know if I could. Yeah, you could have gone to one of those other programs to where they'll, dictate how many calories you should take in. And I guess that's okay. But, that food, generally speaking, isn't going to be fresh food. It's usually frozen meals that you're heating back up, a lot of sodium in those. And then the workout, probably no, because, the program makes it so easy. I open the app, there's the workout. That's what I have to do for the day. There's this, how many steps I have to, the program makes it to where I feel it sets you up for success. And it makes it to where you don't really have to think about what you need to do for the day. You just open the app and do the things.
So you can focus on business and
family,
and ultimately what's important to you in your life, instead of having to become a fitness nerd.
Yeah, whatever that is. Like, so you ask, could I have taken the time and researched all these things and done all that? Sure. I don't have that time now, though. I didn't think I had the time to get on track with my own weight loss and getting in shape. How was I ever going to have the time to say, okay, well, what muscle groups do I need to work, and how do I need to work them, and all that kind of stuff? Leave that to the experts.
Good. And it's been working really well, all outlined for you with the app. So
yep.
I got one last question for you. For anyone who's watching this, who's maybe on the fence and isn't sure if they should give this a shot, if this will work for them, or if they, again, just could try it on their own, what would be some of your last words of advice to that person?
I would say that unless you are a complete fitness expert, diet expert, sleep expert, all all those things, you probably won't be able to do it on your own. I would recommend that you reach out to Mauro, and Mauro can help you get down the right path. I wouldn't be where I am today without having gone down this path. I just don't see another place that gets me there. You can go join a gym tomorrow. It's not going to get you there. A gym is one piece of the pie, right? It's one piece of the overall puzzle. But what about the diet? What about the sleeping? What about the steps? What about, getting cardio in, but not too much cardio in? All these little things that you're never going to figure out on your own. I felt I knew a lot about running, but I knew I was never an elite or a great runner. And the reason why I never was is because I never had a coach. So a coach is what makes you or gets you to that point. So I would say if you want to get there, then having a coach is going to be the way you're going to get there. But it has to be a coach who can kind of handle all of these aspects versus someone who maybe is just a personal trainer at your gym. I don't see that as the answer. I see what Mauro provides in his program. I see that as the answer.
Thanks for all the details. I have to break my promise and ask you actually one more question.
Okay,
But this will be the last one as a follow-up to what you said. Would you say this has been the differentiating factor to all the other attempts you had with weight loss? Like that this time all pieces are put together and before it was just one piece that you were focusing on?
Yeah, for sure. Because it was either, well, run and I could eat almost whatever I wanted because I can run, or I was running. As long as I was at a healthy weight, I can kind of just eat whatever I wanted. But that doesn't mean I was eating right. You know what I mean? So yes,
eating less doesn't mean eating right.
No, not at all. I mean, it just means you're eating less. That's
less of the wrong thing.
Right. So I don't think it'd be possible to get where I'm at without the program. And the other thing I would add, I know you said the last question, but I think it's important to add is I honestly don't feel the program is hard. Like I could probably count on one hand the days I've truly felt hungry, and I've been on the program, I think, for 6 months, and that's probably 5 days out of 6 months where I've been hungry. But once you understand and adapt to, hey, this is what you should be eating, to me, that part of it, I find that part to be probably the easiest part. Yeah, you have to track the calories, but I mean, that's, when you get to, I think to, dare I say, this age, I think you have no choice. You're either gonna keep track of yourself, or you're gonna grow old and be unhealthy. And so part of that is just, these are things that you have to track. If you never track anything, how can you possibly expect any result? And if I don't track how many calories I eat, and I eat 5,000 calories, how can I possibly expect to lose any weight? So all that tracking component, if you want any sort of results, you got to track. I'm not 20 years old anymore where I can eat whatever I want and it doesn't really affect me as much. It's just a different time in our lives. So you have to track, and that's just, but again, I don't find that hard because it's all on my phone. My phone is with me all the time anyways. And instead of, sitting there at dinner, scrolling through social media, you get onto FitnessPal and, put in your information.
Calories and food.
Scroll through calories.
That's the new social media.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, yeah, I don't find the program, I guess I just wanted to share that and say, I don't find the program hard. I don't find it difficult to adhere to or to hold to. I think you provide, for me anyways, just the right amount of pushing, but not over the top where it's like, man, Mauro's bothering me again. I feel you bother me enough. So, and I appreciate that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing all the details here and giving everyone your perspective and ultimately your story, your transformation that you share with all the listeners and everyone watching this. And
Sure.
I really appreciate that, Steve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
good to
you.
have you
I
on.
appreciate you.